Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we are going to be looking at Abracé en caso de ansiedad,
Oh, yeah.
which translates to open in case of anxiety.
Okay.
It's by Jaime Gomez Castañeda
Okay.
and was published in Mexico just last month in December of 2024. And
I think what makes this book really interesting
Yeah.
is that it's a really cool kind of a blend between his own personal experiences with anxiety
Yeah.
and then also his professional expertise
Yeah.
as a psychotherapist.
yeah, it's not just this typical self-help book, you know,
Yeah.
it's got this deeper,
Yeah,
kind of vulnerable feel to it, I think.
absolutely.
Yeah, so he actually starts the book off with this really gripping story.
Yeah.
Where he describes this work trip that he went on,
Uh-huh.
where he suddenly starts experiencing all this intense anxiety.
Yeah.
And it starts on this really crowded bus
Oh, no.
where his claustrophobia kicks in.
Right.
And he kind of describes, stepping off the bus into this wide open space. And then, boom, he's hit with agoraphobia.
Oh, wow. Like a 1-2 punch.
And then later on, he even develops acrophobia, a fear of heights,
Oh, my God.
while he's supposed to be focused on work.
That sounds like a trip from hell.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the book so compelling.
Totally.
It's like he's right there in the trenches with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in this deep dive, let's explore, Castañeda's view on anxiety.
Okay.
How does he define it? How does it show up? And what practical techniques does he offer?
Yeah. So the first thing I think to understand is that he kind of presents two ways of understanding it.
Okay.
The first one is what he calls the everyday understanding of anxiety.
Okay.
And this is the kind of anxiety that we all experience.
Yeah.
It's that impulse or the energy that pushes us to meet our needs.
So like the motivation to get things done, to build relationships,
Yeah.
to, even the basic drive for survival.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's that internal push that keeps us moving forward.
Okay. So without it, we'd probably be pretty stagnant.
I think so, yeah.
That makes sense. It's like anxiety is this natural part of the human experience.
Yeah.
But then he also introduces a more neuroscientific perspective that gets into kind of the mechanics of anxiety.
Yes. And so that's where he starts to talk about anxiety as a prediction error
Whoa.
that's produced by the default mode network, or DMN, in our brain.
Prediction error. That sounds intense.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
But basically, you can think of the DMN as your brain's storyteller.
Okay.
So it's constantly processing information from your senses,
Uh-huh.
comparing it to past experiences and beliefs,
Yeah.
and trying to make sense of the world around you.
So the DMN is running in the background, kind of shaping how we see the world
Precisely.
and affecting our behavior.
Yeah, it influences our behaviors and decisions, both consciously and unconsciously.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You're saying sometimes the DMN makes these incorrect predictions
Yeah.
based on, faulty information.
Yes. And that's where the prediction error comes in.
Okay. And when the DMN gets stuck in this loop of these errors,
Right.
that's when anxiety can really become a problem.
Yeah. It's fueled by certain beliefs or experiences.
And Castañeda actually uses himself as an example.
He does.
In the book, he talks about how his own beliefs,
Yeah.
like his need to be perfect and always dedicated,
Yeah.
actually contributed to his anxiety spiraling.
Absolutely. It's like he says, we're not just passive victims of our brains.
Right.
We actually contribute to the creation of our own anxieties.
That's a really empowering message.
It is.
So it's not just about this DMN thing. It's
Right.
about recognizing our own role in the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating, though, is that he doesn't just leave us hanging with all this potentially scary brain stuff.
Yeah.
He actually goes on to offer all these practical techniques for managing anxiety.
He does.
So he's really giving us a toolbox.
Yeah, like a toolbox filled with techniques designed to manage the DMN and reclaim control over your anxiety.
Okay, I love that analogy.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah, so let's open up this toolbox and see what's inside.
Let's do it.
So what are some of the techniques that he suggests for managing this DMN and dealing with anxiety?
Well, one of the most powerful tools, and one that he returns to again and again in the book, is mindfulness.
Okay, I've heard of mindfulness before,
Yeah.
but I admit I've always been a little skeptical.
Uh-huh.
It sounds a bit too, new age for me.
Right.
How exactly does it help with something like anxiety?
That's a great question, and it might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but by focusing on the present mindfulness can actually help to quiet the DMN's constant chatter,
Okay.
which is often centered around, worries about the future or regrets from the past.
Oh, I see. So instead of getting caught up in those anxious thoughts,
Yeah,
mindfulness helps you step back and observe them
exactly.
without getting carried away.
It's like creating a space between your thoughts and your reactions.
Yeah.
You learn to recognize anxious thoughts as simply thoughts, not facts.
Yeah.
And this can reduce their power over you.
So what does that look like in practice?
Okay.
Does he offer any specific exercises or techniques?
He does. He suggests simple practices like mindful breathing,
Okay.
mindful walking, even mindful eating.
Okay, so it's about bringing awareness to the sensations of the present moment.
Exactly.
The feeling of your breath, the movement of your body,
Yeah.
the taste of your food.
It's not about emptying your mind or
Okay.
anything like that.
So it's more about shifting your focus.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how this simple shift in focus
Yeah.
can actually have a really profound impact on the DMN.
Okay.
By engaging your senses in the present moment, you're essentially giving the DMN something else to focus on,
Uh-huh.
interrupting its loop of anxious predictions.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Good.
So it's like redirecting the brain's energy,
Yes,
giving it
yeah.
a break from all the worrying.
Precisely. And the more you practice mindfulness,
Yeah.
the more skilled you become at recognizing and managing those anxious thoughts.
Okay.
You're essentially training your brain to respond differently
So,
to those anxiety triggers.
so mindfulness is one tool.
Yes.
What else does he suggest?
Well, another thing he emphasizes is the importance of dealing with unresolved issues.
Okay.
He uses this really great metaphor of anxiety being like a warning light on your car's dashboard.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
It's a signal that something needs attention.
So what are some of the things that might be triggering this warning light?
Well, it could be past trauma,
Okay.
unhealthy relationships, fears and insecurities, even societal pressures.
Got it.
Anything that's creating this kind of underlying sense of unease or disharmony.
It sounds like he's getting at the root causes of the anxiety,
Exactly.
not just addressing the surface symptoms.
Yeah. And for addressing these deeper issues, he really advocates for psychotherapy.
Okay.
It provides a safe and supportive space to explore these underlying causes, understand their impact on your life, and develop strategies for healing and growth.
So therapy is another tool in the toolbox.
Right. And along with mindfulness and therapy, he also highlights the importance of exercise and nutrition.
Okay.
You know, there's such a strong connection between physical well-being and mental health.
When I'm feeling stressed or anxious, a good workout or a healthy meal definitely helps.
Yeah.
But how exactly do exercise and nutrition tie into managing anxiety?
Well, exercise especially has been shown to have a really direct impact on anxiety.
Okay.
It releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects.
Yeah.
And it also helps to regulate the nervous system and reduce stress hormones.
It's like physically working out the anxiety.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
And on the nutrition side, certain foods can help support brain health and mood regulation.
Right.
For example, foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids,
Right.
like salmon and walnuts, have been linked to lower levels of anxiety.
So it's about fueling your body with the right ingredients to
Ex-
support mental well-being.
And
Oh.
he's also careful to point out that just like with any health concern,
Yeah,
it's important to seek professional guidance,
of course.
especially when making any significant changes to your exercise routine or diet.
So we've got mindfulness therapy, exercise, and nutrition.
We do.
Is there anything else in Castaneda's anxiety-busting toolbox?
There is, and this one might surprise you,
Okay.
reading.
Reading. I love to read, but I never really thought of it as a tool for managing anxiety.
Well, it's all about engaging the DMN in a positive way.
Okay.
He talks about how reading can be like feeding your brain with information
Yeah.
that can help reshape your thinking and your emotional responses.
So instead of letting the DMN run wild with anxious predictions, you're giving it something constructive to focus on.
Precisely. He even shares that one of the things that helped him during his own struggles with anxiety was reading a book about anxiety.
That's pretty meta.
It is a little bit.
But I get it. Knowledge is power.
Yes,
When you understand something better, it can feel less scary.
exactly.
Hmm.
And beyond knowledge reading can also provide distraction,
Mm-hmm.
emotional support, and even a sense of connection
Yeah.
with the author or the characters in the story.
Right.
All of these can be really helpful in managing anxiety.
It's interesting to think about how something as simple as reading can have such a profound impact on our mental state.
It is.
So what other tools does he suggest?
Well, he mentions a few other stress management techniques.
Okay.
Things like deep breathing exercises,
Okay.
yoga, and spending time in nature.
Yeah.
These practices can all help to regulate the nervous system,
Okay.
calm the mind, and promote a sense of peace and well-being.
Those all sound pretty relaxing.
They are, and they're all about tapping into the body's natural relaxation response,
Okay.
which is the opposite of the fight or flight response that often accompanies anxiety.
So it's like giving your nervous system a chance to chill out.
Exactly. And finally, he introduces this concept called contemplation.
Contemplation. How's that different from mindfulness?
It's similar to mindfulness, but it's a little bit deeper.
Okay.
It's about observing without judgment, allowing yourself to be fully present in the moment
Uh-huh.
and really absorbing the experience.
Can you give me an example?
Sure.
What exactly would you contemplate?
It could be anything that draws your attention and invites you to simply be.
Okay.
He even connects contemplation to the haiku poetry form,
Okay.
which emphasizes capturing these fleeting moments in nature.
So like contemplating a beautiful sunset
Exactly.
or a blooming flower.
Or it could be something as simple as observing the way light plays on a surface
Uh-huh.
or listening to the sounds of the city.
Okay.
It's about tuning in to the richness of the present moment
Yeah.
without needing to analyze or judge it.
Wow. That's quite a toolbox that Castaneda provides.
Yeah.
We've gone from mindful breathing to reading to contemplating nature.
It is.
It's a really diverse approach to managing anxiety.
It is. And I think that's one of the book's strengths.
Yeah.
He offers this whole menu of options,
Yeah.
recognizing that what works for one person might not work for another.
It takes the pressure off finding that one magic bullet solution, right?
Absolutely.
It's more about finding what resonates with you and
Yeah.
building your own personalized anxiety management plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's empowering to realize that you have choices
Yeah.
and that you can take an active role in shaping your own mental well-being.
So from all of these techniques,
Yeah.
is there one that stands out to you as particularly insightful or helpful?
For me, the emphasis on understanding anxiety's roots in the DMN really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It shifts the perspective from seeing anxiety as a personal failing
Right.
to recognizing it as this complex interplay of brain activity,
Yeah.
past experiences, and current circumstances.
It kind of takes the shame out of it, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not about blaming yourself.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the mechanisms at play
Right.
and then finding ways to work with them.
Exactly. And once you understand those mechanisms,
Yeah.
you could start to use the tools that he provides to manage them.
Yeah.
Whether it's mindfulness to quiet the DMN's chatter
Mhm.
or therapy to address underlying issues.
Right.
There are these proactive steps that you can take.
I think what's really powerful about Castaneda's approach is that it combines both, scientific understanding
Right.
and practical techniques.
Yeah.
So it's not just about understanding the brain. It's
Yeah.
about using that understanding to create real change in your life.
And there's one idea that he touches on that I think is particularly thought-provoking.
Okay.
He talks about how reading can engage the DMN in a positive way.
Right. Providing it with different information to work with.
Exactly. And it got me thinking, what if we could apply that same principle more broadly?
Okay.
If we're constantly feeding our DMN with, negative news, stressful deadlines, and
Yeah.
social media comparisons, no wonder it's generating anxiety.
That's so true. It's like we're training our brains to be anxious.
Exactly. But what if we could consciously choose to expose our DMN to more positive,
Yeah.
calming, and inspiring input?
Yeah.
Could we actually train our brains toward a calmer, more resilient state?
That's a fascinating question.
It is.
It makes you realize that you have more control over your mental state than you might think.
You really do.
Yeah.
It suggests that managing anxiety isn't just about reacting to symptoms.
Yeah.
It's also about proactively shaping the environment that your brain is operating in.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
Castaneda's book really offers a fresh perspective on anxiety.
It does.
And I love how he combines his personal story with practical advice.
Yeah.
Well, for our listeners, if you're struggling with anxiety, remember you're not alone.
Yeah.
There are resources available, tools you can use, and hope for healing and growth.
Absolutely.
We encourage you to check out Abrace en caso de ansiedad and to seek professional support if needed.
Yes.
And as always, we'll be back soon with another depth dive into a fascinating topic.
Sounds good.
Until then, happy exploring.